Actor Mark Wahlberg and director Peter Berg have teamed up again to dramatize true stories of survival in movies such as Lone Survivor and Deepwater Horizon. Their new collaboration, Patriots Day, is about the Boston Marathon bombings. Takes a look at the stories of victims, survivors, and the police who tried to catch the terrorists behind the attack. Patriots Day is distributed by CBS Films. That's a division of CBS Corporation. Mark Wahlberg stars in the movie. He's a producer, too, and director Peter Berg. What do you do, Peter Berg, with this movie?
Pardon me? What do I do?
Yeah.
I'm a director.
That was a trick question,
okay,
Peter.
You got me.
He's also an honorary Bostonian after making it.
Yes, I'm sure.
Very proud of this.
Oh, I totally get it. And I understand there was a lot of conversation between the two of you about how to tell the story, when to tell the story. Why did you decide now was the right time? Because you were worried about people saying, is it too soon?
Yeah, that was definitely a debate that was going back and forth. But then we felt like because of everything that's happening all over the world, that it's really not soon enough, because this is a message of love and people coming together. And so we felt like, you know, it was very important to do this, but do it right. And of course, me being from Boston and knowing that I would be held accountable personally.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a lot of pressure, certainly more pressure than I've ever felt.
Yeah, was it added pressure?
Oh, absolutely. Look, I like to go home, and I like to show my face, and I like to be welcomed with open arms. And you know, everybody knows somebody who was directly affected by this. It's such a small community. And so, yeah, I felt an enormous amount of pressure, but I knew, based on my work experience with Pete, that he was the right guy for the job because of how much he cares.
But it said you challenged him all along.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. You know, it was, I was just extremely worried. I'd call him at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be at his hotel door.
I mean, it's the third film that we've worked on, and Mark is, you know, one of the hardest working people I know, and he always works hard. I think on this one, he and all of us worked a lot harder, and I felt his pressure, and all of us wanted so much to get it right for the men and women of that Boston community, the police officers.
Did you appreciate the pressure?
Very much so, yes. I mean, you know,
sounds like it was a lot of pressure.
When you meet the men and women like Danny Mang, a young Chinese immigrant who escaped from those brothers and quite possibly saved a similar explosion in New York, or the police officers that worked, we meet these people, some of the victims and the survivors, you meet those families, you can't help but feel it.
You also said you wanted to be unapologetic in its support of law enforcement.
I think something that we both feel strongly about, that, you know, clearly there's some issues with law enforcement, but I think that brush has been a little too wide as of late, and we're more than happy to push back and remind people that, you know, what we saw in Boston or what we've seen in 9/11 here in New York, or we saw in Tampa or San Bernardino, are, you know, examples of the very best of law enforcement, and a reminder that when we're in trouble, these are the men and women that we call. And I think we both feel very thankful and appreciative, and we're not ashamed of that message at all.
Mark, your character, a cop, is a composite, but a lot of the other characters are based on real people, and that scene that we just saw is a really emotional scene. Martin Richard, the story of the young boy who was killed, his sister lost a leg, his parents were also injured. Did you meet with them? Did you talk with them?
Absolutely. You know, we met with Bill and his wife and Pete, and you know, he was very clear about what he was comfortable with and not comfortable with. He didn't want anybody depicting, any actors depicting him, his children, and initially that was part of the script. And Pete and I said, absolutely, whatever you wish. We just took it right out of the script. We wanted to honor exactly what he was asking us, and it was extremely.
But I didn't know that story. I didn't know, having covered it, you know, that the FBI wanted to clear the scene, and the Boston cops said, we got to stay here.
Well, I mean, it wasn't. You know, these are just horrific situations, and you know what. At the end of the day, the Boston police, you know, honored Martin Richard very much, and stood vigil over his body until it was, you know, the time for his body.
It was interesting to see the debate in the movie between the local Boston officials and the FBI, who said, no, you can't show a picture of these two suspects. And the Boston police went hardcore about, yes, we must show it, we must show them now.
Yeah,
Mark, that was a very key scene for you.
I mean, and that all really happened. And you know, there were two extraordinary men. And you know, and everyone always talks about when something bad happens, the cliche is, well, it didn't happen on my watch. You know, thank God it didn't happen on my watch. But for Ed Davis, who was the commissioner of the Boston Police Department, the top cop, and Rick Delorier, who's the top FBI agent, it did happen on their watch. And you know, these were the two guys who, at the end of the day, this horrific explosion goes off, and the president and the governor, everybody calls and says, okay, guys, what do you need? But you got to solve it. And there was a lot of pressure, but you know, at the end of the day, we were just with them at a screening in Los Angeles, and they're like brothers. And at the end of the day, they put aside those differences and worked together, and it was an extraordinary job they did.
What do you hope people leave the theater with?
You know, I just hope, optimism. You know, I think we're living in a crazy time, but you know, these things may continue to happen. But you know, if people continue to come together, love will always be the outcome.
Love beats hate.
Yeah, the movie sums that up beautifully at the end when you talk to the real people. I was so glad that we got to see them, hear from them who had actually lived it. I thought that was very, very powerful.
Yeah, it was great to have them, and it was a reminder to us, and you know, that really what this film is about those real people, and you know, as great as everything else I think is in that film, and the performances are really strong, and there's a lot of intensity. You just can't beat these real people who went through it, and we're really honored to have them as a part of the film.
Who proved Boston strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Mark Wahlberg and Peter Berg, thank you guys so much. And Patriots Day opens in select cities December 21st and nationwide on January 13th.